All right, so if you guys are unaware, apparently Chris Kindred, the man who literally started Gamergate 2.0, and when I say man, I say it with a asterisk at the top because we are quite unsure over what they may be, but let's just go with the man. Chris Kindred, apparently, according to Master the TDS over on Twitter, shout out to Master the TDS. I will link this post in the pinned comment of this video and in the description so you guys can go to this post and check it out. According to Master the TDS, we have finally confirmation over a rumor that we've been talking about for a while. We've been talking about Chris Kindred potentially being fired from Sweet Baby Inc. for a long time. And now we finally have that confirmation because Master the TDS says, looks like an old friend of Cabrutus and Smash JT has finally admitted what we all knew. Chris Kindred, formerly of Sweet Baby Inc., is now officially looking for work. So before we get into this video, guys, special shout out to all of you 89,700 plus legends that are subscribed to this channel, and the 50% of you that are not subscribed. Consider hitting that subscribe button today. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, let's dive into this tweet. Now, again, this is something that we've known for a while, right? I mean, and when I say known, I mean like internally, us speaking in videos and whatnot, and the rumor mills and everything like that. I know Master TDS and Smash have talked about this in the past, but we needed confirmation. And I always thought that we weren't getting confirmation because they never wanted to give the chuds that level of ammunition. I feel like they were holding off on this for a long time and keeping up the facade for as long as humanly possible. I would almost guarantee that Chris Kindred has been fired from SBI for a long time now, and we're only finding out about it now because, well, he can't lie about it anymore. Kim Belair is probably like, hey, dude, we covered you for like 6 months now. You kind of got to take us out of your bio at some point in time, but we could still talk about it. But in any case, so Master the TDS screenshotted this, and it says, Chris Kindred, narrative designer. I'm assuming this might be from either Blue Sky or LinkedIn. I'm not sure. I'm going to assume LinkedIn because he has this stupid open for work thing, which all the LinkedIn people do. But he says, now that I'm situated after teaching game design at Pratt this past spring, I'm open for projects. If you have a game or interactive project that needs additional writing, extra game design know-how, or unique socio-cultural perspective, let's get in touch. So apparently, according to Chris Kindred, he was working at Pratt, which I guess is a teaching job at some sort of school, and he's been doing it for the entire spring, the past spring. So I don't know when this guy got fired, to be honest with you, but I gotta imagine it's been a while, which means that he has purposely been keeping SBI in his bio for as long as humanly possible. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does he offer? Let's look at what he's got to offer. Chris Kindred is open for projects, according to the picture, and he's offering script writing, design consultation, sensitivity reading. Oh, that's everybody's favorite. That's everybody's favorite, sensitivity reading. Yay. Yay. That is like sensitivity reading. This is the kind of person that wants to do sensitivity reading on a game like Silent Hill F. That's the level of ridiculousness we're dealing with here. Also, dialogue writing. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware, but considering the amount of work that Chris Kindred has had, and his name was in the credits for a lot of projects that have been yelled at for their terrible dialogue, I don't know if you necessarily want to hire this guy. Now, I find it interesting, number one, that he put his contact in this. Now, for somebody who claims to be getting harassed so much, the fact that you put your website contact in there, I just find it to be odd. I find it to be odd. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. So now we have another post here from Master of the TDS confirming what we all just talked about, which is Chris Kindred no longer lists working for Sweet Baby Inc. in his Twitter bio. Keep in mind, this is how Chris Kindred has had his Twitter page for like the longest time. He's had it for literally the longest time like this. And now, if you look at it now, it's gone. It's completely gone. It went from narrative designer baby, I don't know, okay, narrative designer baby, whatever that means, at Sweet Baby Inc., to now writer, game designer, and educator, represented by Comics is People, apparently. So, hot dog joint is where he works at. That's interesting. So, at this point, like I said, guys, this is one of the strangest stories because normally when somebody gets fired from a company, they're usually immediately going to LinkedIn and they're like, hashtag ready for work, all this nonsense. But now with this particular guy, I'm telling you right now, there is no doubt in my mind that Sweet Baby Inc., mostly Kim Belair, but let's just say Sweet Baby Inc. as a whole, as a company, there's no doubt in my mind that they watch content like mine, Master the TDS, especially Master the TDS. They have like a hard on for him. Smash JT, right? They watch all of our content. And you mean to tell me that they wouldn't do something like hiding the fact that they fired the person that started Gamergate 2.0 in the first place? Of course they would, right? At least in my opinion, of course they would. There's no way that they would want this information to be public, especially if it happened a long time ago. They would want to keep it non-public for as long as they possibly could. But at this point, considering that people are investigating this company and continuously looking into it, I wouldn't be surprised if this went one of two ways, where it's Kim Belair saying, hey, dude, you got to take us out your bio. It's been XYZ amount of time. People still think you're associated with us. It's time to part ways. Or it could be Chris Kindred saying that he wants to walk away from SBI. He wants to get, he wants to remove himself from the image of SBI because he's constantly being, I guess, haunted by it. Because he was the one that did it. He was the one that did it. This person, I want to reiterate, this person is the one that started Gamergate 2.0. And I know people like Alyssa Mercante and Jason Schreier and all these journalists out there want to convince you that it was Cabrutus that started Gamergate 2.0. It was Sweet Baby Inc. Detected that started Gamergate 2.0. They're just innocent. They're innocent. Sweet Baby's innocent. It's like, listen, man, this story, everybody knows is bullshit. And you've been pushing this story for over a year. And you are consistently trying to convince people that this is true. And less people are believing you as time goes on. You have barely anybody in your corner at this point believing anything that you say over how Gamergate 2.0 started. We all know the truth at this point. So now we have a full circle story where we have the originator of Gamergate 2.0 getting fired from the company that essentially started all of this, right? Because the funny thing is, there's one good thing that came out from Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I want you guys to remember that game was a trash game. It lost Warner Brothers $200 million. But you know what that game did do? That game informed us and led us one way or another to Sweet Baby Inc. And keep in mind, I need to reiterate because we have a lot of people that watch these videos and they comment and they say, oh, they're not the only ones. Obviously, I want to make it very clear that Sweet Baby Inc. is far from the only company that does the shit that they do. But they are the ones who did start Gamergate 2.0, and then they tried to cover it up with their journalists that they swore still had power to control the narrative and do the whole mainstream cover-up. They ran to their journalists, and the journalists couldn't wait to do damage control for this company, and that led to the eventual downfall that we know of as Gamergate 2.0. They really thought that they were going to be able to do it again. They're like, listen, we covered it up back in 2000, early 2000s, right? 2010, whatever. We covered it up during Gamergate 1. Don't worry, we're going to cover it up again. Wrong. Nope. Not happening anymore. So now we are here where he's looking for projects and looking for work. Now, is he going to get hired? Yep. Absolutely. He's going to get hired. No doubt about it. There's going to be some studio out there. There's going to be some company out there that is going to contract him. It seems as if Chris Kindred is running his own company now, because now he wants to get hired solely himself for projects that have to do with script writing, design consultation, sensitivity reading, and all that stuff. He has his own website, chriskindred.com. So it looks like he's doing it all on his own. So he's not looking to work for any company. He's hoping he could get work on his own. Whether or not that's going to work or not, I guess time will tell. I feel like it's going to be a little bit odd to see his name all by itself on a credit roll, unless he gets maybe he gets partnered with all the other consultants or something along those lines. But it seems like he is an independent contractor now, which again is so hilarious, because Gamergate 2 has resulted in a lot of these former, part of the mainstream kind of people. A lot of them have now been forced to become independent contractors, or they are becoming fake content creators, where they're trying to pretend like they're Twitch streamers or they're YouTubers, only for them to realize that barely anybody watches them, no matter how much controversy they have. They're over here thinking controversy sells, but the simple fact is controversy only sells if people agree with you. If you're on the right side of that controversy, if you're on the bad side of that controversy, well, you end up like Chris Kindred. That's just how it goes. So you love to see it at this point. And like I said, I haven't spoken about Chris Kindred in, I don't even remember how long. I mean, it's been such a long time. I probably haven't spoken about Chris Kindred since the last rumor of him being fired by Sweet Baby Inc., which was months ago. But now we have confirmation from the person themselves that they no longer work for Sweet Baby Inc. And whether or not that was by the decision of Sweet Baby Inc. or Chris Kindred, we're never going to know. But I got to imagine it was probably Kim Belair. It was probably SBI that decided to say, you caused us so much shit. You are the reason why everybody on the internet hates us. You are the reason. If it wasn't for you exacerbating this, we probably would have never gotten Gamergate 2.0. To be real with you, I got to be real with you guys. People probably would have hated SBI, but nowhere near to this extent, right? Most people, you got to imagine that Sweet Baby Inc. Detected was a very, very small group before Chris Kindred tried to get them banned. They were a very small group. I think they only had like a few hundred people at most. And then Chris Kindred tries to get them banned, tries to get Kabrutus banned, tries to get Smash JT fired from his former job, all that stuff. And it goes from 400 people in the group to 500,000 or whatever the hell the number's at right now. It's insane. It's insane. And he cost SBI the shadows that they loved working from, which Kim Belair has openly admitted that she prefers to work in the shadows. Gee, I wonder why that is. So shout out to Chris Kindred. This is a blessing in disguise for a lot of reasons, because, I feel like if it wasn't for Chris Kindred, all this stuff that we ended up discovering after the fact would have never came to light. And I feel like it's a good thing. So even though this started from something bad, it ended up resulting in a lot of good things for, our particular side and the whole Gamergate 2 situation and whatnot. And now we just get to see what happens when it comes full circle. That's basically it. So you guys can let me know in the comments down below. What do you think his next job is going to be? Is he going to work at Walmart? Is he going to work at Target? I think he's from New York, so he's going to put the fries in the bag for someplace, maybe McDonald's. Let me know in the comments down below. And chances are I'm going to put up a thumbnail for Chris Kindred with a McDonald's hat or something along those lines, just because I feel like it. Why not? Why not? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.